Hello, and welcome to episode 60 of Expertise is Overrated, the podcast that takes the time to answer the questions you didn't know you didn't want the answer to. I'm Vib.
And I'm Sean, and neither of us has any clue what we're talking about.
Quite literally this time round, because we spent I spent a good 2 minutes going, what is this again?
Well, I've just realised that we've had an absolute sort of planning shocker here, because our last two episodes before this one, either of them would have been really good. Episode 60, let's take a step back and have a high-level discussion about something random. Whereas this episode is a standard between two tens, let's just talk about a piece of media that we like. So we've just binned it.
What do you mean we binned it? This is our OG. We're going back right to the beginning.
We are. I don't know, it just felt very silly to me.
It's a good 60th anniversary. I don't know what 60 equates to in materials, but I'm sure it's...
Emerald.
Well, you knew that way too quick.
My grandparents had a 60th wedding anniversary, really not last year.
Oh, so they did, yeah. Well, congrats to them. Emerald, there you go. Good.
Or this year, March this year. Anyway.
So happy Emerald episode.
Yes, this one's dedicated, I guess, to you. If you're listening, I don't think they know how podcasts work, so they're probably not listening.
I mean, we don't know how podcasts work either. We make the damn thing.
True, we spent 10 minutes trying to work out your audio from the last two episodes and went, nah, that's too difficult.
Yeah, so I guess I can apologise for it now, dear listeners, for audio in at least episode 58. I hope that we have since fixed it. I think we have since fixed it. We have no idea what happened with episode 58. I blame OBS.
We're a bit worried about episode 59, which is an odd one because there was no OBS involved.
Yeah, but very high levels of painkiller, which is a totally different thing, but no less legitimate, I'm going to claim.
Your concern isn't that episode 59, the audio is tinny. Your concern is just that you were high as balls.
High as balls, so who knows what I said. I don't even remember what that episode was on, you know?
To be honest, I only noticed when I opened up the folder. That's when we were talking about Baldur's Gate. But anyway.
Baldur's Gate, yeah, of course. Yeah, speaking of shocking memories. This episode is essentially all your idea. You posted it in our Discord chat
I did.
Very recently. So
a couple of days ago.
Listeners, go check out our Discord. It's fun.
Yeah. I posted it.
It's fun.
Less than 30 hours ago. So obviously, because you're a smart man, you can remember what it was, right? And what it said.
Well, I'm looking at it, so yes.
God damn.
Nice try.
No, so this was a meme that I pulled off the internet. I don't quite remember where from. And it just reads, me when I finally confront the skinwalker in my basement, but he tells me he's just hiding from the skin runners. What? It's very funny. The look on the lady's face is hilarious.
Yeah,
a sort of
the zoom
rictus
in face,
grin. Yeah. It's very good. But that got me thinking, because obviously I've complained about the Skinwalker from Turncoat. I nearly forgot that one. A few times as being one of the scariest things that Dresden faces. So it just got me thinking, you know, what terrible thing like skin runners might Harry Dresden face in his 8 still to come books?
Yeah. So first of all, you can't be the one starting to forget the titles of Dresden Files books now, because that doesn't bode well for us if you do. Also,
no,
skin runners. Can you imagine? That's genuinely terrifying.
Yeah, just a skinwalker, but better.
Better.
No, thank you.
I mean, Shag Nasty is nasty.
Maybe that's what Goodman Gray is.
You think he's a skin runner? But he's
a skin runner.
He's so lethargic. Or maybe laconic is a better word, actually.
He's laconic right up until he turns into a 2-ton war horse and hurtles down a street at 500 miles an hour or whatever it is he does.
Skin running, yes.
Yeah, skin running.
But Goodman Gray seems like a nice old chap, you know. Very reasonable fees.
Nothing. Yeah, I want to talk. He's weird.
He is weird. Well, again, let's start there then. So the basic premise, if you haven't guessed, or if Sean hasn't said, I can't remember if you said it or not. My goodness, memory, terrible. But yes, what things could Harry Dresden from the Dresden Files be up against soon in the, as you said, 8 books to come?
I think we could almost throw it out slightly wider than that. That is, I think, the core premise, but it's just where do you go from here? So we've done the Battle of Chicago, which was basically terrorists released WMD in the center of the 4th or 5th largest city in the US.
I don't think terrorists is necessarily the right word for
genocidal
maniacs.
But I think that's how it's being spun to the sort of mortal
by the Men in Black
media, by the Men in Black, exactly. But with a couple of exceptions like Ghost Story, every Dresden Files book up until Peace Talks was a slow burn stakes escalation, ish, sort of. And then all of a sudden, that slow burn has had petrol poured on it and just turned into this absolutely insane war in the streets of Chicago.
Yeah.
And we've still got 5 books before the apocalypse kicks off, and that's, I think, what I'm slightly struggling with.
Yeah.
I don't see how you can... How do you spend 5 books getting there?
Well, we briefly talked about this in the past, right? This concept of how on earth are there 5 books between now and the literal apocalypse when we've just had an apocalyptic level event stopped. I'd love the next 5 books to just be Harry calmly sort of evaluating his brother and nothing else.
That would be good.
And
that would be
a whole
good.
book just dedicated to the wedding of Lara Wraith and Harry Dresden.
I sort of assume that's what the next book is going to be.
Really wholesome, totally not vampiric.
It's just really, really nice. And Harry's always looking for the scary thing in the corner, and it's just never
comes.
there.
The scary thing is just the love in his heart. Oh.
Yuck.
And this is why I am not a best-selling author. Next book is Mirror Mirror, isn't it? Or is that the one after?
No, the next book is 12 months. The next book was meant to be Mirror Mirror, but has been pushed back.
See, this is the thing that I was thinking about the other day when you posted. Well, actually, it couldn't have been the other day then because you posted it literally yesterday. Anyway, I was thinking about it at some point that Battlegrounds came out a really, really long time ago. This was like pre-lockdown, or maybe the very early days of lockdown.
Early days of lockdown, I think.
Beginning 2020, right? Yeah.
Or was it 2019?
Maybe it was just about 2019. I certainly,
October 19.
I think I read it in lockdown. So I mean, it's been at least 3.5 years, I would say.
Yeah, it has. And I think Jim Butcher announced sort of not long after Battlegrounds came out that he was going to have to squeeze in another book, which is what 12 months has become, because it was meant to be Mirror Mirror.
But so,
which is the one that everyone's excited about.
Yeah, because everyone thinks that Murph will be in it.
But before that, he's decided he needs to do I think it's like a vignette book. So it takes Harry through the course of an entire year.
Well, that's critical, right? Because he gets a year to prepare for the wedding. A year of mourning.
Exactly. And I think 12 dates as well. Isn't that part of it? They're going on a date once a month for 12 months and then getting married? Have I invented that?
There was some element of courtship, I think, as in to be seen by the people. I don't remember it being such a regimented affair, though.
Maybe not. But part of it is so that it doesn't appear sudden and sordid.
Yeah, exactly. As a clear, this is just Mab doing this type thing.
Yeah.
But you might well be right. I mean, as we've discussed, my memory is much worse than yours when it comes to these sort of things, so you might very well be correct.
It's, frustrating that my memory is very good at this and very bad at anything useful, but never mind.
So, of course, the first terrible thing that Dresden will face is marriage, as we all know. A horrible thing.
I will not be drawn on commenting.
I mean, you should have just said, no, it's wonderful. Somehow you didn't even manage that.
Yes. But that wouldn't have been funny content.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe I should spend the next hour psych-evaluating you. How's that?
I think I'll just hang up.
Yeah, that's entirely fair. And then you get an hour of me monologuing, guys.
I'm sure everyone would love that.
So the new
for tinny
podcast is
audio.
born. I mean, I do it most of the time anyway. I just talk right over you. It's great.
Yeah, it's very noticeable when editing. Just I'm trying to talk and you're just like, no, I'm talking now.
Well, in my defense, you do go on.
I do. I'm quite long-winded.
Whereas I'm pithy and witty and fun.
You're certainly curt. I'm not sure how much further than that I could go.
Fair enough. So fine. If marriage is not one of the terrible things Harry Dresden is facing, then...
But there's a few other things that we know from Peace Talks and Battlegrounds he's been sort of promised, right? So Listens to Wind said that he would tell Harry more about being Starborn in a year's time.
Yes. Yeah, everything seems to be hinging around this this year time point now, huh?
Yeah, I think there was... Obviously, he said the offer to go and train with River Shoulders as well.
I wonder if... Sorry to cut you off there again. Well, I'm not really sorry, but, that's life. I wonder if a year is somehow... like, if that date is a notable one. The fact that everyone's still gravitating on it.
I don't know if it's that or if it's just coincidental. It would make sense if sort of everything is building to yet another crescendo.
Yet another Starborn type event, maybe.
Yeah, some sort of, well, this is when all the Starborn get their lightsabers type thing.
I guess we'll need Rashid to show up and just teleport Harry into the future.
Yes. Well, noticeably absent from Peace Talks and Battleground.
Teleport, that's also not the right word. Chronoport?
Yank. Hoik.
Yeah, notably absent, as you say, yes. So possibly dead.
Yeah, we still don't have the breakdown of what happened at the gates during Battlegrounds, do we? We know that the gates were under threat, so it's not beyond the realms of possibility that Rashid is just dead or was somehow ganked.
I mean, we don't really see him ever... I mean, briefly we see him at the gates, but he doesn't seem to engage in the combat. He's very much behind lines.
He doesn't seem to be sort of, as you say, on the lines fighting constantly. But if the gates are threatened, that feels like something that the gatekeeper should be present to deal with.
No, absolutely. But Mab is very calm after this has all happened. So
that's true, and we do see.
And Molly is also engaged in the fight for Chicago. So
she is, but Lee isn't, or Leah isn't. She's at the gates.
No, absolutely,
she's very
absolutely. But if it's not like a queen/lady level threat, probably okay.
I think it's probably fine, but it does raise questions. Harry's probably going to need to have some sort of rapprochement with Ebb. Maybe. I'm not sure. But it feels like that.
Yeah, where does that come from? How does that follow from the gates? I mean, you're not wrong.
Well, I'm just thinking about wizards now, because I was thinking about the Chicago Rebuilding Society, or whatever they're called. That collection of people who are not the White Council. So all the accorded nations who fought except for the White Council that Harry goes to when he threatens to out Marcone for being a knight. I was thinking, well, there's no member of the senior council there, and then that got me thinking about Ebb. That's all.
Is it just Ebb there? No, neither Ebb nor...
There's no senior council at that meeting. There's no wizards at that meeting. It's very noticeable.
Yeah, the humans were excluded, right? Meeting. I think that was the key.
Except for Marcone.
Yeah, but he's...
Well, at the start of that meeting, they think he's human.
He's human. But he's a slippery devil.
Yeah, it's different if it's Marcone and it's Chicago rather than it's humanity, so it's the White Council. That's a different nexus.
So, all right, going on from that point about Ebb then, do you get the sense as well that I feel like the sort of big fights that are being set up in Harry's future are all with people he loves as opposed to, bads?
I don't know.
So Ebb, because that's just a family fight. But I mean, the last time they fought, Ebb killed him, or thought he did. There's Thomas, who's in a world of trouble. Not to mention the Svartalfs. And then there's Molly, who is literally being turned into a winter something. And they're scheming.
Yeah, I don't know about that. There's something... What am I trying to say? There's something about the fight with Ebb that just doesn't make any sense at all.
Go on.
That whole fight on the dock that ends with Harry triggering the self-defense booby trap. Is this just me? That fight doesn't make sense.
How so?
I've never got the sense that Ebenezer is in a position to lose control that much, and I get that it's different when it's family. I'm fully on board with that theory. But even so, you
forget that he is literally the White Council's hitman, though.
No, but you don't... Your hitman is not someone who is ever going to lose control, because your hitman has to be someone whose judgment you trust absolutely and totally.
Yeah, but your hitman in this case is also Harry Dresden's family.
But he's also who you entrusted a dangerous warlock to learn control.
Now then. Entrusted? Oh, yeah, the warlock, yes, but sorry, the black staff itself. Do we know the deal with that?
No.
No, I know what you mean. So the fact that he was given sort of care of Harry.
Yes.
But that could easily be explained by the fact that if the black staff asks you, let me take care of him, you say, yes, sure.
I don't think Langtry behaves. I don't think Langtry works like that. There's too much of that fight. I can't explain it. But Ebb's behaviour across peace talks doesn't make sense. He's not a coherent person. They have a almost screaming row in the Svartalfs embassy, and then at the party, they just seem fine.
And they have a run-in with the what are they called? The dogs.
They have the run-in with the corner hounds, and then it's never mentioned again. I think there is a case to be made, especially given what the corner hounds are, which requires a slightly deep dive into Lovecraft, but I can come back to that. I think there are two Ebbs in Peace Talks and Battlegrounds.
No,
I think Ebb is time traveling.
No, hate it.
Okay.
No. Time traveling Ebb. Do I hate that?
Ebb is the only member of the White Council allowed to time travel.
No, Rashid.
Rashid doesn't time travel. He stands outside time. It's slightly different.
Oh, fuck off.
Rashid just spends a lot of time so very deep in the Never Never.
Is Ebb allowed? Is that part of the whole black magic deal, time travel, you think?
So the law of magic is thou shalt not swim against the currents of time, which Rashid doesn't do. Rashid doesn't travel backwards in time. Rashid is able to look forwards in time and adjust his actions accordingly. And when he's at the gates, he's so far from reality that time moves at a different pace for him.
I'm on board with. But Ebb, do you think he's allowed?
I think the whole point of the Black Staff is that they're bound by none of the laws when acting in that capacity. I think it's not just that he can kill with magic; he can do anything.
Yeah, no, I don't hate that. But then, what's the point? Like, what is he time traveling for, and then seemingly doesn't remember anything?
So the theory that I've seen is that angry Ebb is future Ebb. And what he's doing is trying to go back in time to make Harry change a decision, because a decision that Harry makes ruins everything, and it's a decision linked to vampires. I don't know what that decision is. So the whole trying to pull Harry away from the White Court is so that Harry doesn't do something like marry Lara, for example, that has horrible knock-on repercussions. That's why Ebb is so incandescent about getting Harry away from the Whites. No, I don't particularly think that that's enough in and of itself, but the Corner Hounds are Lovecraftian entities that are drawn to time travel. That's just what the Hounds of Tindalos are. So it has that going for it. And Ebb has never come across as... So when he storms into this Svartalf embassy at the very beginning, like, Ebb has never come across as the kind of person who would bully his way in to the Svartalf embassy. That's not how I picture him. Like, that's needlessly antagonistic.
There's always the possibility that Ebb is just a racist.
It's entirely possible that Ebb is just a racist, but he's also a politician. And it's needlessly antagonistic for the equivalent of your Minister of Defence to go around antagonising the security detail of, like, a foreign king. That's just not Ebb. And he's like, his excuse is, a wizard of the senior council walks where he wills. And it's like, is that really Ebb?
But that doesn't really... I mean, because you're saying it's still just Ebb, just one is... It's Ebb.
Not the Ebb that we've seen before, is my point.
Yeah, implying that he's changed at some point, but he might just be changing now because there's so much random shit happening. I don't necessarily think it doesn't fit what you're saying. I just don't like it. I think it would be a bit too lazy from a character development point of view. I think I'd much rather just have Ebb be at odds with Harry and not do it because of some time travel fuckery.
I think it's the theory as it is not enough, I think.
I also just don't think that Ebb would have the skills to travel in time. That doesn't strike me as something that he would be capable of.
It's potentially too subtle for Ebb.
Yeah, exactly. And they talk about... I can't remember if they talk about the Cornerhounds fight at any point after, but they certainly talk about their duel, right? Early on in Battlegrounds, there's a sort of awkward, "Oh, sorry, I thought let you think you killed me," type thing. And because they're like, let's just bury the hatchet for now, and then in classic Dresden fashion, don't ever talk about anything.
Maybe that's right.
But yeah, the Cornerhounds, I grant you that is quite an appealing angle.
Because the other argument has always been that it's just that it's related. That it's related to Justine in some way.
Yeah, well, I mean, outsiders really make everything more complicated, right?
Yeah, so that's why we have to sort of hang it off what we know about the types of outsiders that we see. And the only thing that I know about the Hounds of Tindalos is that they're connected to time travel.
Well, yeah, assuming that Dresden, not Dresden, the Butcher sticks to that.
But you wouldn't use a recognisable Lovecraftian entity if you didn't want to hang something on the fact that they're a recognisable Lovecraftian entity.
Yeah, but then, He uses names like Queen Mab,
Why?
but then turns her into
why
like a
not
crazy
just,
story like Snow Queen. You know.
Why not just use generic outsiders? What are they? Oh, the 13. Just call them that. The fact that they're Hounds of Tindalos, it feels too important to me.
But are they ever called that? I think they're just called Corner Hounds, no?
Harry calls them that when he banishes them.
Yeah, but Harry's got a flair for the dramatic.
No, but he's naming them when he does that.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I don't know, but so in any case.
Anyway, that's a book that's passed.
So Ebb, are we saying that Ebb might be something? So I think so. I think more and more we're seeing friends potentially becoming Harry's obstacles. I don't necessarily call them enemies or even adversaries, but obstacles. He has to just reconcile with everyone. And with Ebb, I think he could do that in a martial fashion. Maybe the fight has already sort of done that. As it proves to Ebb potentially that he actually means business, and maybe he just needs to realize that perhaps he can let his wild young grandson just kind of do what he's doing.
Yeah, potentially. I don't hate that. I think it almost feels to me like Harry's period of isolation or isolating himself should be coming to an end, though. So yes, all right, you've got like Harry in the middle, and then you've got all these people on the outside, like Ebb and the Alphas and Butters and the Knights and Murph and whoever else it might be, Molly. So I'm just writing this out. And slowly but surely, we're like crossing some of these allies off the list. So Murph's gone. Michael is gone, really. The Alphas are stepping back. Ebb isn't the ally he was. Ramirez isn't the ally he was. Molly is bound. Butters has stood against him at times. So yeah, I see that. But I don't know, it just, in some ways, like, it feels petty, I guess, that's the only word.
Yeah, and I mean, they're also just not, they're not your end boss in the book, right? Because ultimately, pro podcaster doesn't even turn his phone on silent, honestly. But like, you're not going to end your book with just Harry obliterating Ramirez, right? That doesn't make any sense. But they are quote-unquote fights he's going to have to get everyone back on the same team.
Yeah, but I don't think you get Ebb back on the same team by punching him.
No, potentially not. I think, yeah, we get Ebb back by actually understanding what the fuck happened.
I think this was the point that I was making a while ago in our
Discord.
In our Discord, exactly. Like, again, it comes back to, like, I get that Ebb doesn't like vampires. That much has been made clear. But his reasoning has never been made clear. And I feel like his hatred is too strong for it to be like a simple thing. I think there's something deeper and nastier there than just they took my wife and daughter from me at some point in the past. Like that could be enough, and if that were all it was, I'd accept that. But yeah,
no, I agree with you. I agree. I mean, there's so much we have yet to learn, right? I mean, Harry's mother has always been such an important character in the books, and we don't really know anything. I think Mitsuo made that point our Discord as well, right? That she's
who was Maggie,
yeah. So we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, making Harry, marrying him into the White Court of Vampires is fucked up on many levels, but also great because it means he will have to essentially step out into the light a bit more. and therefore it'll force him to deal with the people he doesn't really want to deal with, and answer some really awkward questions.
I think that's true. It makes him sort of much more of a political entity, right? If he's Winter Knight and consort to the de facto White Queen.
Although that's a point that currently still confuses me a little bit. Like, how out is Lara?
I think that everyone knows and no one says, because to say would be a massive diplomatic faux pas. That's my theory.
Yeah. Do the other White Court vampires know, you think, at this point?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because it's only a victory for Lara, and it only cements her power if they all know and none of them can prove it.
Well, yeah.
Or not prove it, but
no one wants to even bother challenging it.
No, because it's such a masterful stroke.
Yeah.
And also she's good and winning. So why would you bother?
Papa Wraith is a loose end. A big one. Papa
Wraith is a loose end and a big one. That's right. I've made a list of loose ends.
Because the issue originally was that Lara needed to keep him alive to keep up pretense. But if it's kind of that anyway, then there's no real need for him. Because one of the fears was that he's going to die, right? Because he has no way of actually staying alive. And that was going to be some sort of big issue for Lara. But what we're saying now seems to suggest that it wouldn't be an issue at all.
Well, I think it would be an issue for Lara because she is not the White Queen. And so there would need to be whatever passes for a succession question.
Yeah, but she's done such a job of cementing her role in advancing the interests of the White Court that I don't know if a rival in the court would, want to assume control. I feel they're letting Lara do too much.
I think that's true, but there are also, if you remember, very few senior White Court nobles left.
This is true.
After the Deeps.
Yeah, this is true. Right, so we've outlined Lara's enemies very effectively.
Yeah. So,
do we think Lara will be one of Harry's big fights to come?
I doubt it. I think she's going to end up being necessary, and Harry's going to hate that fact. She's almost like a Marcone figure. Better Lara than Papa Wraith, or whichever other, senior White Court are hanging around. Things are neat, things are tidy. She's still monstrous, but better the devil you know, and can work with. Lara Wraith was, the Wraiths were there in Chicago, right? And fought well. Rather than, if it had been Papa Wraith, they'd probably just been nah, you lot are on your own.
Yeah, for sure. They'd be there feeding everyone. The way the Butcher writes Lara Wraith compared to Marcone, I think, is a bit telling. Yeah, because Harry always, he describes them both as monsters, but there seems to be much more of a visceral hatred for Marcone.
Because Marcone's human. So
potentially
that Marcone does as a choice.
And there's still that whole, Thomas is a White Court vampire and manages to be a decent person. And I always get the sense that Harry sort of maybe sees that in others. Because Lara's also demonstrated at times, that she has some values that Harry gets on with. For reasons he doesn't agree with Marcone's values the same way.
I think the challenge there is how much of Lara's values are tied to efficiency rather than morality.
Yeah, and perhaps there is also an argument to be made for... it's an argument that I have made previously. I don't know how Harry sees this necessarily, but a vampire is what a vampire is. They have to survive the way they do at times, or at least be taught otherwise, potentially, whereas Marcone actively chooses to be a colossal bellend. Although hashtag Marcone is innocent.
No, I think that's absolutely right. I think Harry, especially after taking up the Winter Mantle, is more willing to listen to, look, I'm trying my best here, but you don't know what it's like to live in my head. You don't know what I'm fighting with every single day type thing, which I feel like is sort of Thomas's excuse.
Yeah.
Basically, every day I try not to be a monster, and some days I'm more successful than others.
Yeah. And this is a theme that will continue, I think, as in terms of what is Harry fighting. It's not just what he's fighting, it's what everyone's sort of fighting. It's their inner demons, which sounds horrifically lame when you say it out loud, but that surely is where Butcher's going with a lot of this.
I think so. But I think that I don't think Lara has the same struggle that Thomas has. Her struggle is not because she doesn't want to feed on people. It's because, well, she wants to be the most efficient person that she can be, like on a personality, on a sort of macro scale. So yeah, she probably could just walk down sort of Pennsylvania Avenue, clamber into the White House and set herself up as queen, but it's not going to last.
Yeah.
I think.
But equally, she strikes me as a sort of person who, if she does the maths that says, I need to live more like Thomas now to, I don't know, keep Harry on side or something because he is much more instrumental in achieving my goals, she might well do it.
No, I think she's capable of it. I think that's the big difference between Thomas and Lara and the rest of the race is what they're capable of.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting book, that, because I still don't really know where I don't know what either one thinks of the other in terms of, you know, is this marriage like a colossally stupid idea, or is there going to be some good that comes out of it? I don't know.
That's true. It's also worth remembering that Harry has the sort of love protection from Murph.
Yeah, that's true.
So, like, I wonder how much of their courtship is going to be Lara seeing almost in a playful way, but not actually playful, if she can break that.
It's funny,
because
right?
Lara obviously can't, but she can throw all sorts of things at him to see if they'll break it.
But she says something really poignant about Harry's protection at some point, doesn't she?
She says that she's genuinely happy for him at one point. Like, no malice, no nothing. She's sort of, I can't remember if she says, you won't believe me, but, or something like that. But she sort of genuinely seems happy for him.
Yeah, which I remember at the time thinking, that's really fucking weird and almost frightening.
Yeah.
So there's complexity there, and I don't see. Yeah, I don't see the White Court, or certainly not the Wraiths, as an obstacle necessarily.
No,
they won't play ball, but it's a bit like the White Court of the Winter Court. Sorry, that they're objectively dreadful to work with, but you do work with them.
Yes. Yeah. I've scribbled down a few extra things that we can probably have a quick chat about.
So 40 minutes in, we're going to talk about the monsters Harry's going to have to kill.
Well, not specifically the monsters that Harry's going to kill, but we know a few of the subjects that that Butcher has said he still wants to cover. Right, so 12 months we've spoken about quite extensively. And then we know we're getting Mirror Mirror after that, which is the alt Harry book that everyone loves talking about. We can come back to that. Yes.
Yeah.
And then the other ones the one that I think is absolutely certain is the Murder Mystery Greek Gods as WWE Wrestlers book, which, what a sentence.
I hate everything you've just said.
Do you not know? You must know this.
No.
Oh, yeah, no, it's a real thing. there's a book coming in which a wrestler is murdered, and Harry is private investigated to investigate the murder, and it turns out that all the wrestlers are like retired Greek gods. How can you hate that? That's so good. You have no soul.
I hate that.
Anyway.
I hate that so much.
Why do you hate it?
It's so cheap. Also, why are we going back to the private investigator thing? I thought that had died a death.
I think there's a lot of people in the fandom who want Harry to go back to being a private investigator a little bit.
I'd love it if the next, I guess 5 books are just whodunits with some really light supernatural elements to it, and then just the apocalypse happens.
That'd be really, really good. The other one that has been thrown around, and I don't know whether it's Jim has said this is coming or he said I'd really like to write this, is a book about the dragons, and it always gets written as the sort of dragon stroke kaiju book. So this idea that Harry's going to have to fight some or deal with some skyscraper tall monster, which would be pretty fun.
There's only one dragon left, no?
Maybe.
I think. Isn't it just Pharaoh? I want to say he talks about that at some point.
I don't think he's the only one left. He's certainly the greatest of the ones that are left.
Maybe. I guess he's also the only signatory of the Accords.
Yeah. But there was something about an aircraft carrier in the Pacific and dragons and kaiju, but I don't know very much about that.
I just don't know how much I like that concept. I know we're sort of talking about Harry beating up monsters in a way, but that's almost too much.
I suspect
too on the nose.
I suspect that the book is not going to be Harry using an aircraft carrier to punch Pharaoh in the nose or anything like that.
Yeah,
but I think those are the only plot beats that we know.
Fuegoing him to death or something. But then I guess Michael does it.
Well, that's the thing. Michael kills Sithrax,
but Michael is 100 times the man that Harry is.
So that leaves us with one other book. So I've got a few names written down here.
By the way, so I guess you're presuming that the actual bat is. I mean, obviously, it's like it's a continuing story, but there will be different enemies that he's essentially going to tick off his list in each one, I suspect.
Well, we know the titles of the 3 big Apocalypse trilogy books.
Yeah.
So you've got Stars and Stones, Hell's Bells, and Empty Night. So next to those, Stars and Stones, I've got vampires.
That was my instant thought as well, but also Empty Night.
Empty Night is Outsiders, I think.
Yeah, but the vampires always say that, don't they? Or maybe it's the Venturi who say that, actually.
I think the people who actually say that is the Venatori.
Venatori, that's the one, not the Venturi.
Because that's what they're fighting to prevent. So that's why it's a curse for them. It's their Empty Night is their fail state.
So book 1, he kills Dracul.
Book 1 is Vampires strike Dracul. Book 2 is Hell's Bells. So I've got demons, Nick, Satan, Lucifer.
That's where Nick gets it.
Question mark. Yeah. And then Empty Night, I've just got Outsiders. Stroke Cthulhu. Like walkers.
So where does Marcone get it in those?
Hell's Bells. Or none of them.
Yeah, that's my worry. None of them.
And he actually ends up being a necessary component of saving the world, which I would hate.
I'm in two minds about this, because I thought... For a while I thought, well, now that he's picked up a coin, it gives Harry an easy excuse to kill another human, because he's a coin-carrying knight. And I was like, that feels a bit cheap, right? Because the conflict was Harry has to make up his mind as to what to do with this vanilla human. But then there's the other alternative where Marcone lays down the coin and is somehow vindicated because of it.
Or Marcone keeps the coin and it turns out that nothing is black and white. And Harry has a conversation with Thorn Namshiel, where Namshiel basically goes, "Oh, I've just had a terrible idea." Namshiel goes, "I'm a sleeper agent. I work for Uriel." I hate it. I absolutely hate it because that's not how angels work.
I don't hate that so much. Well, they all have a purpose, right? So maybe that's just his purpose. But the other point is that because he's an angel with choice, right? He's fallen. That doesn't make him quote unquote evil, depending on what we mean by that word, right? He serves a purpose, but we don't know whether that purpose may not be aligned with any of the other fallen angels necessarily.
I think what we're going to find is there are essentially 3 factions of angel.
Possibly, yeah.
There's the heavenly host, essentially. There's the fallen who work with Lucifer.
You're literally making a mobile game right now.
Yeah, and then you've got the sort of your in-betweeners, which is Namshiel, and sometimes people like Uriel. Right, so Uriel works with the in-betweeners to accomplish ends because they can do things that the heavenly host can't. And I don't like it because it sort of breaks all manner of cosmology. Because the act of falling, it makes you evil because you have turned away from God's light, which is good, and so are evil. But you can make it work.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't hate that. I don't hate that.
And then you've got Harry spending ages trying to work out, is Marcone telling the truth? Is Namshiel telling the truth? Because Namshiel can lie, obviously. And he can't get hold of Uriel for whatever reason. And he can't, everyone he speaks to goes, "It's angels, mate. Who the fuck knows what they're doing?"
But again, this is Harry's problem that he never speaks to anyone, right? Because he
wouldn't even ask anyone. Because
he knows that Namshiel was in whatever the city's called. The Ice City.
Arctis Tor.
That's the one.
Yeah, we still got to answer what happened to Arctis Tor.
It's just classic Harry, right? He's such a good private investigator, but sometimes he forgets to just be a person. You could just be like, "Hey, Mab, so what about Namshiel, eh?" And then see what she says.
Part of the problem, I think, is that he spent so long on the outside, not being given information, not being trusted, that he hasn't realised he's now on the inside. In some ways. Like, Harry is one of the most powerful people in Winter. Exactly as you say, if he goes up to Mab and says, "What was going on at Arctis Tor? Do you have any idea?" Mab might just tell him.
She might. Well, remember, they can't lie.
They can't lie. So if Mab says, "I can't tell you," or "I won't tell you," fair enough. But she might say, just turns out me and Namshiel had a plan to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And you were our patsy, sorry.
Because she was angry with someone.
Yeah. But didn't she also know around about that point that Nemesis had got into Maeve?
Exactly. That I think is the anger. I mean, Harry says as much, right?
Yeah.
But it is also around the time that Namshiel was probably in Arctis Tor doing something.
Devilry.
Exactly. So yeah, who knows? I like your idea. So the 3 big books at the end, killing the vamps. Well, I guess who is there to kill? I guess the Black Core, yeah, and Draco.
Yeah, and that Draco,
and that's how he gets the stars and stones, which we hopefully found out more about soon.
You've also got Wild Bill and Yoshimo to deal with,
and Chandler. At some point, we need an answer to who is Cowell and Komori. Yeah, I was gonna ask about them because I don't know where they fit in any of this.
The thing is, you can sort of do them in any book. Lots of people think they're going to show up in Mirror Mirror.
Well, yeah, because people think that they're some sort of like mirror versions of Harry and Molly,
It's
or
Dark Harry and Molly,
or Harry and Margaret, or Harry and someone.
Yeah,
which I still don't hate that. I don't know what I like. I don't know which version of Cal and Kamori I like. Is the issue.
They need, by this stage, they need to be someone that we've seen on page, as it's not going to be a good reveal.
But Elaine is also missing.
Elaine is also missing.
Yeah. No, she's not missing. It's just she's a loose end that needs to be tied up.
We need a resolution to her story. I've also got Shag Nasty is still out there, probably carrying a grudge.
I wouldn't be averse to Shag Nasty dying in some sort of montage that happens during the apocalypse, but sort of endgame style, where someone literally just nukes him again, but this time uses like a super nuke.
Good old super nuke.
Like, he sort of dies, not quite off screen, but in like a 5-second montage thing where you just see him go down. You're like,
I think he ends up in Demon Reach.
I'm glad you brought up Demon Reach, actually. Sorry, you finished your point.
Well, it's just that Demon Reach is a known safe place to put Nagaloshi.
Yeah. Demon Reach, I think, is a problem.
Yeah.
It's too powerful.
Is that not what the English man or the British man in Demon Reach is, though?
The regulator of said power?
Or he's a way for Jim to regulate that power. So at some point, Harry is obviously going to have a conversation with that person, and we're going to discover who they are. And at some point, probably that person is going to tell Harry about how, oh yeah, I know you think that you can just release Ethne now and use her. And it might work. But she might fry your brain, mate. And that's not a risk that you can take, type thing. Or it's just Merlin, and Merlin's like, don't you fucking dare. I will melt you from here.
Yeah, don't disagree. But that's not what I meant by Demon Reach is too powerful. I think Demon Reach is too powerful from the good guy's perspective. Right? Like, what can't he lock up there, if you know what I mean?
It doesn't have extraterritorial effect.
No, but everything seems to
really
happen
powerful.
in Demon Reach. That's the
True.
issue. Right? We know the Apocalypse trilogy isn't going to be happening in Mumbai, now is it? It's going to happen in Chicago, and therefore be within reach of Demon Reach.
Yeah, I think that is almost certainly true.
And it's just like... I think Jim Butcher is a better author than essentially just to have every single big bad be locked up in Demon Reach. And if that happens, then that's going to be the end game, is Demon Reach essentially exploding. But I don't see how you resolve Demon Reach.
You Dark Hallow it.
So what, are you saying that's where Cal maybe comes in?
So that is a theory. That is a theory. Obviously, it's the changes. One of the choices that Harry could have made. Well, no, he couldn't because he wasn't the warden. Yes, he was.
The changes he would have been, yeah.
Yeah, he was the warden in Changes. Is do the Dark Hallow on Demon Reach.
So the idea is that Cal is mirror Harry, who had Dark Hallowed on Demon Reach.
I know. I think I don't think Cal has done the Dark Hallow yet, because Cal was trying to do the Dark Hallow.
Okay, yeah.
But no, I don't know that Cal necessarily is relevant here yet. But the whole point is, if you do the Dark Hallow on Demon Reach, the power up that you get from consuming like proto gods and titans and Nagaloshi and everything. I'm not saying that it's obviously not going to be Harry that does it. But that's a way to take Demon Reach off the map by doing the Dark Hallow there.
But it's so multiversey, isn't it? Which I still don't know if we know how Demon Rage works in a multiverse. It probably exists in all of them, and is like a constant. It's like a focal point.
It's a fixed point in time.
Fixed point, yeah. But
I do all my time travel via Doctor Who.
Yeah,
cross between Doctor Who and Endgame.
But it's not just the constant in time; it also just exists in every single reality.
Yeah, it's not just
must be given that reality is under attack.
It's a multiversal fixed point.
Yeah.
I think that's probably true. There's got to be a better way to take it off the map.
This means that winter exists in every single reality. Because they hold the gates.
I'm still not sure if it's the same never for every reality, though.
So what you're saying that there could be different factions holding the gates against outsiders, depending on which reality is in question.
Yeah.
That's not impossible, I suppose.
So sort of you've got the outside as a big circle and then little pockets of realities.
Could explain why the outsiders attack in waves, as in they sort of choose a reality to attack for a bit and then move on to the next one.
Yeah.
And then come back.
The outsiders, we need more on the outsiders as well. What do they want?
Yeah. They're metaphysically very strange.
We've had this conversation before, though.
Yeah, no, and it broke our brains, so it's...
Well, I find the concept of anything other than the universe existing very confusing, so can we just not, please?
Yeah. It's just the pre-Big Bang, that's all the outsiders are.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that past, just trying to cling on.
That noise that you can hear is my brain dribbling out my nose.
Yeah.
Trying to deal with that.
Thank you.
The other enemy, it's a nice image, isn't it? The other enemy that's still out there is the Genosqua.
The Genosqua, yes.
Who did scare Harry. And almost, I wonder, seems to have taken the place of Shagnasty in Harry's fears. Do you think that's fair? It's like an upgraded threat.
I know that... I don't know, rather, I should say. I'm so used to being like, I know. The Genosqua and Shagnasty are not quite two sides of the same coin. But there's parallels, right? Because Shagnasty is essentially taken on by Listens to Wind, who in turn learned a lot of his powers from River Shoulders, who is, a relative of the Genosqua. So there's this sort of weird power. I'm sure that's how that's probably going to get resolved ultimately, is some sort of Listens to Wind, River Shoulders versus Shagnasty and Genosqua type thing.
Yeah.
With Harry, I don't know, doing something, I guess.
Because we've had basically one book that zoomed in on Native American myth, and I know Jim has said before he's not keen to do too much on that because he doesn't know it, and he doesn't want to tackle something he doesn't know well, which I think is really good. But you could see another turncoat style book where the big bads, exactly as you say, are the Genosqua and Shagnasty.
But that's the issue with the Genosqua and Shagnasty, right? Is that they're not single entities. There's multiples.
Yeah.
So it's hard to envisage that being an end game threat. They're certainly strong opponents, yeah. But.
Or if 12 months is vignette-y and we see some of Harry dealing with, spending time with Listens to Wind and spending time with River Shoulders, he could just tick them off in those vignettes, sort of in your endgame style. We just get a couple of paragraphs of Harry going and then we bound Shagnasty and Demon Reach. Yeah. And then River Shoulders snapped the Genosqua like a twig. Yeah.
And then Guard shows up and just decapitates. Something like that, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. That's a way we could do it.
Which I think could work if Butcher does it in a way that, sure, it's vignette-y, but it becomes relevant later on.
You need through lines to make that work.
Yeah, so there'll be interesting tests, I think, because Harry's a lot... I don't want to use the word stronger, but I guess it is a bit what I mean.
I mean, he is just stronger now, but it feels like
fronts.
It feels like, you know, the thing with Shag Nasty is going to be being stronger isn't a fix for Shag Nasty. He needs to be smarter. That's what Listens to Wind showed. Like, Listens to Wind wasn't stronger than Shag Nasty, but he was smarter. He was able to outthink Shag Nasty. So that's like the bit that Harry now needs to learn is stop shouting Fuego and use your brain.
But Listens to Wind also didn't make a point of like ending it, right?
Yeah,
it's a bit sort of circle of life in a way. Like, you know, yeah, sure, this thing exists, but
we chased him off. That's enough.
Yeah, exactly. Let's turn our attention to the things that matter, right? Like the outsiders. But then there's also the idea of Nemesis, as you mentioned. A Nemesis could be anywhere.
There's Nemesis, there's Justine.
But I'm saying like Janoskwa Nemesis. I mean, I guess the Janoskwa is also coin carrying, so that I don't know how outsiders would work.
Coin carrying Janoskwa, that's true. I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, how the outsiders deal with the demons. Well, that's, I feel, what Hell's Bells is going to be about.
Yeah, and big old Lucifer, eh?
Yeah, whose shadow sort of has lain across the books a couple of times.
I would love Lucifer to just show up to kill Nick and do nothing else.
That'd be really funny.
But as a sort of like...
You are causing me so much trouble with my relatives. Stop it.
Like Anduriel. You know, Anduriel, as you can say.
Anduriel.
Yes. Stop it. Just stop it. I've had enough of you. And he just uses the noose to strangle Nick.
You are grounded.
Come back to hell.
Oh my god.
And then Lucifer just bows to Harry and leaves. And that's the whole book.
Lucifer is just a really tired, angry, middle-aged dad who keeps getting phone calls from Uriel in this sort of like principal role, being like, Lucifer, your kids are at it again. Come and pick them up. Have a word with them. Don't make me call your father.
Don't make me come down there. Yeah, but I almost see Lucifer as what Hades would have been a few godly generations before. And so I also see that what Hades is now is sort of potentially Lucifer's future, where he just gets to relax with his dog.
I think it really depends on which direction Jim goes. Because obviously there's a lot of popular media at the moment that has Lucifer as exactly that, a sort of he's not actually the bad guy type thing. He's just a person, right? There's the Neil Gaiman comics Lucifer, which are that, which has been made into a TV show. But on the other hand, you've also got like Judeo-Christian myth, or Judeo-Christian dogma, I should say, which is that the serpent is evil and the sort of bringer of revelation in the end times. I can't decide which way Jim is likely to break on that. I mean, I think it would be funny if Satan were...
The devil's not that prevalent, really, in Christian literature, is he? The snake being a very obvious and famous example, a terrifying example, but...
The serpent in the Garden of Eden, and then... Isn't Satan present in the Garden of Gethsemane as well, tempting Christ before the crucifixion?
That does sound like something he would do, yeah. But yeah, he's a tempter. He's not some sort of... He just offers choice, right? That's his whole spiel, I guess.
The idea of Lucifer as the brightest angel who led a revolt and then fell, I think, is much more Milton-esque than it is Christian. But it's so much moved into the popular conceptions.
Yeah, but I think that is because there's actually not that much to go on in scripture.
No, I think that's absolutely true.
He's been built up as a boogeyman because that's a great way to control crowds, and well done. But
I think that is sort of true, but sort of on that, though, Butcher isn't writing a Judeo-Christian thesis. He's writing
no, exactly.
popular literature. So in that sense, having the devil as a boogeyman, and the biggest boogeyman, is useful. And we know that... do we know? We suspect that Satan is a power on par with Uriel.
See, this is where I struggle a bit, right? Because Lucifer is a very obvious absence so far, right? We've met a lot of unbelievably powerful things.
He's bound in hell. That's the whole point.
Yeah, but he's bound in hell the same way that the white god is bound, doing whatever the white god is bound. I just have this suspicion that Lucifer is almost a bridge too far. Like, even a step ahead of, like, the mothers, for example.
Oh, I think he's absolutely head and shoulders. I think he's... Well, we had this debate way back in our first episode. Where do angels fit on a power scale?
Yeah.
But if we accept vaguely Milton-esque ideas of the hierarchies of heaven, then at one point Lucifer was the brightest angel. Yeah. Right, head and shoulders above basically everyone else. Until he rebelled against the white god, I suppose, and was cast out of heaven by the Archangel Michael.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but I guess my point is that we've sort of seen a lot of the archangels, or we've heard of them. We think we saw the Herald, right, in Battlegrounds. We've obviously seen Uriel.
Yeah.
I just think that Lucifer outclasses them as well, and that's why we haven't seen him.
I think he probably does. I think there's probably a question mark over Lucifer versus Michael, given that they've previously had a clash and Lucifer lost.
Yeah, but there's now the whole belief thing as well, right?
Did he? Well,
it's sort of
this is all part of the problem, right? How much of this is being shaped by the fact that that's the story that everyone knows.
Yeah. So Michael beating Lucifer or the other way around doesn't really matter. The fact of the matter is that people believe in Lucifer and his power, whereas Michael is not worshipped or anti-worshipped as to the same extent, feared. Right? Yeah, feared, yeah. And so that worries me about Lucifer, is that a lot of people believe in the devil, and therefore he might well be just apocalyptically strong.
I think that's true, and I think that the reason that we've not seen him to date is that being bound in heaven. So we see Nick and the Knights of the Blackened Denarius as his agents.
Yeah.
I guess the big question is, are they actually his agents? Because there's definitely a suggestion, I can't remember where it's from, that the fallen bound in the coins aren't necessarily the ones who are the most loyal to Lucifer, so much as, like, some of them were just really irritating. So it was a way to get rid of them.
It's been, exactly who bound them, right?
Cast them out of hell as he was cast out of heaven, type thing.
But hell, I think, is an interesting concept, right? Because it implies that, much like the white god, or I guess Hades is our best example of someone who has, like, a duty.
Yeah.
If you are the king of hell, prince of hell, you've been given a duty, or you've assumed a duty, and that in the Dresden verse has a meaning, right?
There's so much wrapped up in that that I suspect won't get looked at until Hell's Bells. Yeah.
We'll see it, though, because there's been hints of genuine devilry.
Or the infused circle in the aquarium is just Lucifer's handiwork.
Yeah.
Like, that's all but confirmed by Uriel.
Yeah.
Because Harry gets quite stridently grumpy. He's like, Lucifer's chipping in, and where were you? And Uriel's like, I was here. I sent you. That's what I get to do. And it worked, didn't it?
But was he really there, or was it some sort of here, take my sword type thing.
Obviously, well, I think that's Uriel's point. Uriel's like, I didn't need to do anything. All I had to do was nudge you. That's how this is meant to work.
No, I mean the devil, as in, yes, his handiwork was there. Doesn't mean he was there.
Yeah, Well, I don't think he was in Chicago, but he was lending his power. So he's putting his fingers on the scale. So someone somewhere should be putting their fingers on the scale to balance that.
Yeah,
was Harry's point. And Uriel's, I think, quite right response was, I did.
Yeah, no, quite. Yeah.
You're my fingers.
Quite.
Right.
Nemesis infected Uriel. There you go. That's how we're going to end it.
Well,
I will take no further questions at this point.
I think all that remains on that wild bombshell is to say thanks for listening to this episode of Expertise is Overrated. No doubt we've said some things that were either objectively wrong or downright offensive. As ever, feel free to let us know. Rate the podcast and leave us a comment, or drop us an email at expertiseisoverrated@gmail.com. Tweet us at zeroexpertise. Check out our website, expertiseisoverrated.podbean.com, or come join us on our Discord server.
If you're lucky, we might just argue with you in one of our upcoming episodes. If you're really lucky, we might call you an idiot. Come back next time for some more absolute nonsense.